So, hi everyone. Today, we're going to be talking about pests. But first, what exactly is a pest? I want you to take a minute or two and just kind of think about what a pest is. What are some characteristics that a pest might have that makes it a pest? Anybody have any ideas? Got it?
It's unwanted.
It's unwanted? Yes. Chris?
It's damaging.
Damaging? Chris, what exactly does it damage?
The environment.
Can damage the environment. What else can it damage? Josie?
Crops.
Crops? What about, can it damage your homes in any way? How so? Margaret?
If you have termites, they can eat your house away.
They can eat your house away. Amy, do you have another one?
This might be a stretch, but bed bugs, if they're in your bed, they can hurt you.
They can hurt you. So then what are some of the characteristics that a pest has?
Is one that parasite?
They can be parasites, yeah. So a pest is generally a destructive organism which attacks crops, food, livestock, and may spread disease or cause destruction to humans or to human-made objects. And so we're going to go over today a plant example, an animal example, and an insect example. So, who's ever been out in the woods? Have you ever been out through the woods, trekking in your boots and in the mud, and then you get back to your car or your house or wherever you're from, and you have like the little burrs on you everywhere? Do you know what a burr is? Someone explain it to me. Joel?
Isn't it a seed?
Exactly. So a burr is a seed with a bunch of little, almost like spikes that are shaped like hooks on it. So whenever it rubs up against your clothing or whatever you have on you, it'll stick. And eventually, as you walk away, the seeds are going to fall off somewhere else, and a new plant's going to grow. So how can these plants be pests? How can they affect our everyday life? What are we wearing? Where does what we're wearing come from? So what's an everyday shirt made of? Does anybody know? Amy?
Cotton
Cotton. So where do we get cotton?
from plants on a farm.
From plants on a farm. So what happens, do you think, when these cockleburs, which is what the plant is called, when these cockleburs come in and they start growing around near a cotton farm? John?
They destroy the cotton.
Exactly. They destroy the cotton and all that year's crop. So then what happens to the farm? Eventually they won't make enough money, and you're going to lose a lot of your revenue, and you're not going to make any money, and you're not going to be able to support yourself. And so that's a good plant example. So who can think of other plants that might be considered pests? Amy?
Dandelions,
How so?
because they spread their seeds all over and they take over other plants' homes, and if you look outside, they're everywhere. If they start in one place, they just spread everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And so weeds and dandelions and those types of plants can also spread, and they can harm other natural plants that are supposed to be there. And so if we let weeds overcome our farms or come into our farms, eventually they're going to soak up all those nutrients that our crops need. And we're not going to have any food to eat or any clothes on our backs, all because of these pesky little plants. So, who can think of any animals, not insects, but animals, that can be pests? John?
Rats.
Rats, exactly. So how can they be pests?
They get in your house or business or whatever and start tearing away food or your electrical, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. So, Joel, how can they ruin the food?
Chewing it up, taking it back to their nest, possibly opening preserved packages, and then it rots.
Exactly. So we have food in our homes, and the rats will come in, and they kind of creep their way in, and they'll go up into our cupboards, and they'll open our unopened boxes of cereal. And then we can't eat the cereal because it's been opened, and a lot of the times, the rats will urinate on the food as well. So then we can't eat that. So then we have to throw out the whole box of cereal. Or they can open it and then they eat it for themselves. Either way, we don't get to eat the food. And that hurts us because then we don't have any food to eat. And then we have to go buy more food. And then we have less money because these pests are taking our food. So, John, you mentioned that they can chew things, right?
Yes.
So, what can they chew around the house to damage it? Chris, do you know?
Like John said, like electrical wires, I don't know. Electrical
Exactly.
wires.
Electrical wires is the big one. So, why is this an issue?
You know, electricity.
You need electricity. So what happens if they don't break the wire? They just chew it a little bit. What can happen? A house fire. Exactly. And so as they chew through these wires, it can spark an electrical fire, which can eventually damage our whole home. But not only that, but if we happen to catch them before it starts a big fire, they're still damaged wires. And so because of that, we're going to have to pay more money and replace them, and that's less money that we have for food and all this, and all the stuff that we use every day. And so if a home has a rat problem, now we're not going to have food, we're going to have to go buy more. Then we might have a fire, but if in case we can catch it before it happens, then we have to pay money to replace the wires. We have to pay money to call somebody in. And then we eventually lose money, and we can do less things, and we can't have pizza as often, or go out to Chuck E. Cheese as much, and those sorts of things. So, now we're going to move on to insects. So there are a bunch of pesky insects. Can you give me a couple of examples that we've learned? Chris?
Termites.
Termites. Josie, you got your hand up?
Cockroaches.
What else? Amy?
Mosquitoes?
Mosquitoes. Joel, do you have your hand up?
Ticks?
Ticks. Gabby?
Stink bugs.
Stink bugs. So, how are mosquitoes considered pests? Amy?
They carry diseases like malaria.
They carry diseases like malaria. And so how does that affect us?
You can get very sick and die.
Exactly. So mosquitoes carry things like the Zika virus or malaria or the West Nile virus. And depending on where you live, these can have some pretty big consequences. We can get sick, we can get hurt, and again, it costs a lot of money to fix. So, where do ticks live? Joel, you mentioned ticks. Where do you think ticks live?
All around the forest.
All around forest and other wooded areas. So we're going to draw a great big tree. A very bad big tree. And so down at the bottom we're going to have maybe a little tick here. And a little tick here. And so, what do ticks do that make them a pest? They have the diseases, but how do they give you the disease? Kathy?
They bite you, but before they bite you, they numb your skin so you don't feel it.
Mm-hmm. So, if you're a person, or maybe a deer, a very bad deer, an awful, more camel-looking deer, honestly. But then these ticks, they'll crawl on you and they'll find a nice fleshy part of your skin, and then they numb it, and then they bite it, like Cassie said. And so this creates a little ring that almost looks like a bullseye. And you can get infected, and and then we already went over that process. So then what happens after the tick bites you? Amy?
It might jump onto another person or a dog.
It can jump onto another person or a dog. What are the effects that the tick has on a person or animals? Josie?
Makes you very sick.
Makes you very sick. And so you might get tired or sleepy. And what ends up happening is with ticks, you get something called Lyme disease. And so Lyme disease makes you very tired, and it makes your joints ache and your muscles ache, and it makes you get fever and the chills, and it's just not very good overall. So today, I have for you a small little worksheet that we're going to complete. And so, on this worksheet, there are 3 boxes and 1 final box. And so in each of these big 3 boxes, we're going to do what we kind of did up on the board together. And so on your own, each of you are going to draw as detailed possible pictures as you can. In this box, you're going to draw, in the first box, you're going to draw the animal as an environment. So if it's a tick, you're going to draw the leaves on the ground and the trees, and then the little tick down there in the corner or wherever you want to put it. In the second box, you're going to put, why is it a pest? Or what does it do in order to harm us or harm our products? And in the third box, you put the outcome of the pest. So if it's a rat, you can put your house on fire, or if it's a mosquito, you can draw the mosquito biting you and the person very sick. Or if it's a tick, you can draw somebody that's very sleepy and tired. And then at the bottom, you're going to summarize what happened in the last box. And you're going to write a sentence or 2 about why the pest and how the pest affects people. If anybody has any questions or needs any help, feel free to raise your hand and I can come over and help you. When you're done, you can put your heads down and wait for the rest of the class to be done as well. I'm seeing a lot of very good drawings. I love them. Okay, now we're almost out of time, so it's okay if you're not done yet. I want you to find a partner and share with your partner what you've learned and what you drew, and then decide between yourselves which one you'd like best and which one you'd like to share with the rest of us.
I drew a rat.
What'd you draw?
Get into your house.
Oh, that's a good idea. So, the horn in the woods.
Also, their past says, they're painful of sins or aggressive, so on high numbers.
I kinda messed it up, cause I guess that's why I didn't do it.
I drew a mosquito. In the woods or in a fire. Where you are. So, and but this little guy got bit. Ouchie. And the outcomes are
Help on that one.
depending on the civic, depending on what the little guy has. Alright.
That's fantastic.
You want me to present or do you want to present?
Okay, has everybody had time to decide?
We're choosing to choose.
So, Amy and Joel, what did you guys come up with?
I drew hornets. And I said they were pests because they have very painful stings. And they're a very aggressive species, so they swarm and can get very deadly in high numbers.
And so how does that affect people?
If you're allergic to them, well, obviously, regardless of whether you're allergic to them, the sting is very painful. But if you are allergic to them, it can hospitalize you and cost you a lot of money.
Exactly. Okay, John, Chris?
Yeah, so we presented, this is a rat that's in a swamp, or manhole, but it's a pest because it can get into your homes, and what it can do to people is, and why it is a pest, it can eat your food, tear at your wires, and repopulate in your house, and it affects people because it has diseases, it's an unwanted visitor, and you lose your money on spending on repairing things.
Cassie, Margaret?
I drew termites. This is a tree with some termites on it with an enlarged termite so you can see it. And then this is my house with termites all over it. And then this is my house after the termites have eaten it and it fell down. And yep, and termites are bad because they eat our houses.
Very good. Okay, Josie, Gabby?
I did ticks. So these are little ticks, and then they, drink your blood, and then you get sick.
Okay, very good. Thank you, and then for your homework, I want you to go home and talk to somebody, talk to an adult, and see what problems they've had with pests. And then I want you to draw another 3-box story, like we did today, and bring it in to turn it into me tomorrow. Thank you, and have a nice day.